Hey everybody, and welcome back to the second channel. Recently, in the video that we posted about recording into the old Edison phonograph, there are a whole lot of questions in that were left unanswered from the video, so I think I'm going to take this time here on the second channel to answer some of them. One big question that I saw that I think is really interesting is people ask, why was there an echo in the wax? Especially when you listen back to the end screen. Smash that like button! You can hear my voice twice as if there's like a delay pedal on. It's also in the other recordings, even the metal band, it's just harder to hear. But the reason why is that the cylinder is spinning and creating a groove, and those grooves are really close to each other. And because the wax is so soft, you record the vibrations into one groove, and then when it spins around again, that groove is close enough to press into the next one. So that's why you're hearing the voice twice. Another one was, why was the wax playback often in a different key? The playback machine isn't playing at exactly the same speed as the one that recorded the sound. So we actually had a lot of trouble with that. Because it's hand cranked.
Wow. Yeah, it's there.
It's, not super reliable, and the speed would speed up or slow down, or we would start it and it would be way too slow, and that would also change the pitch.
Didn't the loud noises also kind of somehow slow the wax a little bit?
Yeah, I also found that when there was something really loud, it seemed to pull on the needle during playback.
Yeah.
So it would slow it down a little bit because it would give it more resistance. I especially noticed that when Wibblerspoon was recording, there was right at the beginning of the song, originally there was a big strum.
Yeah.
And when he would strum that, it would always go in the playback. I imagine that's because going from silence to a loud noise, it was going along and probably didn't have any resistance. And then when the loud noise came in, it had resistance. So it pushed the needle back, so it was going a little bit slower for a bit. That's why at the beginning of the Wibblerspoon song, there's that he's strumming that chord.
That guy's
really
weird.
Yeah, he's
That
a weird.
guy's really
Yeah,
weird.
I don't know how I feel about him. I'm a bit worried about having him around. But when he was strumming the chord, that's to ramp up the volume. So that it...
what?
Oh, God. Oh, Jesus.
What did you
I
say?
knew I was going to talk... Jeez. I knew I was going to talk about this later, but I guess we'll just get to it now. Apparently, I pronounced volume really strangely, and I had no idea until now. I definitely know now. It is super clear that I pronounced that word incorrectly. Also, some people were saying, I guess that's a Midwest accent, because Rob's from Chicago, so I guess people from Chicago say that, but I don't think... No, that's not the case. I'm just a weirdo.
I say volume.
Everyone says volume.
Yeah.
Except for me. Anyway. So the reason for the ramping up in the chord is to not have that effect. But looking back, it probably would have been cool to keep that in there, because it is an interesting part. But yeah, going from big changes in volume, pull the needle different ways, and then changes the pitch. There's just so many nuances to recording with this equipment that you would never have to worry about now. Where did this idea for the video come from? So I watched a channel called Vinylize. It's just a guy who's really into vinyl, and he had a video about a wax cylinder that he bought. I was like, that's cool. I wonder if there's anyone around that still has that equipment. So that's where it came from. So shout out to Vinylize. Here's another one coming back to loudness. Volume is, why didn't you use another diaphragm? So at the beginning, Sean, the wax cylinder engineer, or 1800s engineer, as we had him in the description, he told us that different thickness in diaphragms, it's kind of like a volume control. You go over different diaphragms for different volume.
You can, but as I said, I have to make more recording heads.
Thinner ones will vibrate more, thicker ones will vibrate less. Two reasons that he informed us of why we used the diaphragm that we did was that we were going to do the metal band later in that day. So we knew we were going to be recording things that were really loud. And the diaphragms have to be glued in. They're not an easy thing to switch out, so we had to just commit to one for the day. Was that right?
That was my understanding.
Yeah, I mean, I think he only had one of that fixture head. Even. Yeah. And they have to be glued in, and it's a whole process, and it can go wrong. And we just didn't have time to do it. So we had to commit to one, as well as he was telling me that not only do the thickness and diaphragms change how much they vibrate, but they also change what pitches they mostly record. So the thick diaphragm was also used for the frequencies that the guitars would mainly be in. If we used a thinner diaphragm, we would have gotten it to vibrate more and get a bit of a clearer signal, but it also would have moved the frequencies to more of the bass area, so the guitars wouldn't have really come through and we would have got a crappier recording.
Huh.
Even looking at other demos of wax cylinder, obviously the noise in the wax is huge, but I think we got really lucky in how good the acoustic recordings went.
Yeah.
Just all of them, I think we got really lucky, because if we used a different diaphragm, it could have ended up being too bassy or just completely blowing out the cylinders, which we thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
Was there would be too much vibration with the full band, and it would just totally ruin it.
Had to choose the cylinder for the metal.
Yeah.
Because metal had never been recorded to wax. That was part of the whole deal.
Yeah. My understanding was it was also the right call for the acoustic stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If this is the frequency spectrum, right, it really only records like a small bit of it.
Yeah.
And if it went down too low, then the guitars that are mostly here would have just been...
Sure.
Yeah. That gets to another question, which was, why did we choose the metal song that we did?
Yeah.
There's a few people there criticizing. Not huge fans of deathcore, I guess, or that type of music. I love that type of stuff. Like, I think the song's awesome. Midwest, Oceano, chuggy type stuff, I love. The biggest reason why we chose to use that song, other than just we like it, the chance that, like I talked with Rob Ruscia, the recording engineer there, and we gave it like a 1% chance of working at all. We did not think it was going to work. So we wanted to pick a song that would have the best chance of actually coming through. And my first inclination was to do Gas Mask Catalog. But if you just look at the song, it's constant double bass, constantly the same loudness. And we figured that would just, all definition there would just go away. So we needed to pick a song that was slow, didn't have a ton of intricacy, but was still really heavy sounding. So we figured that the deathcore genre was the best way to go.
Like a song that had multiple kinds of sections to it as well?
Yes, yeah.
So that you could see how it did with like a slow, everybody hitting on the same thing.
It has slow and fast parts so that we could test a wax cylinder, what it was capable of, and it just ended up performing way better than we thought it was going to. What I figured was going to happen was all the fast parts or intricate parts of the song would just be completely washed out and you wouldn't be able to hear anything. And the only parts that you would hear would be like the breakdown at the end. Very big dynamic changes, and that would essentially be the only thing that goes through, was what we thought would happen.
It turned out way better
Yeah,
than
it sure did. And even so, in one of the fast parts, when it's very intricate, it does skip. And I think one reason for that was probably because it was going a bit nuts.
Yeah.
How many takes did you do? So with this equipment, you don't really get many takes, but we did do more of that than were in the video. I think I still have the wax cylinders. I left with them. I gave one to Jeff, one of the acoustic recordings. But I know the metal band we did to the wax twice. 3 times?
Yeah. We got to the end of one of the takes.
Problem with the record moving.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Because there's also takes where I screwed up or Jeff screwed up. But then there were also takes where the equipment, messed up for some reason. So I would say we probably did maybe 3 of each tune.
The only one that we recorded 2 of was Wibblespoon, because he's pro.
Such a pro. He just got it. We did Wibblespoon, and we thought we could have it mixed, the guitar and vocals mixed a bit better. So we switched the horns to have a smaller one on the voice, bigger one on the guitar. Yeah. Or no, the other way around.
Yeah, bigger one on the voice, smaller one.
The other way around. And then we recorded it again, and you couldn't hear the voice at all. So then we just had to go with the first take because we had to move on. Yeah. And Wibblespoon by the hour is very expensive.
You don't want it.
Yeah, he wasn't lying.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Biggest budget for the video is just hiring Wibblespoon. Jeez. I guess that goes to another question, which is what's the budget? In which a video like this is expensive, so it's quite a bit more. So this is a good time to shout out people on the Patreon. Thanks to the people who are there who get the videos early or get them with some extra DVD extras, so to say, and just choose to pay for them to come out. Thanks so much to those people, because something like this it's not sustainable on simply AdSense revenue
Yeah.
unless it's getting millions and millions of views. And thankfully, it's doing pretty well. But I think even with it doing exceptionally well, it would just break even. So, yeah, so these types of videos are possible because of the people on Patreon. So thanks to them. Another question is, how does it play back without recording more sound into it? Because the machine that you record into and play back from is essentially the same thing. So the only difference between the two is when it's cutting it, the needle in there is very sharp. And then later when you play it back, it's like a rounded edge, so it doesn't cut into it. But it does wear it a little bit. When they were mass-produced, they were made by something that wasn't quite as soft. They would just use that original recording and then put it on a different material. From what I've seen, what we recorded into, you could play that back hundreds of times before you noticed any real wear to it. But it does still wear it down. But yeah, the two machines are basically the same thing. That's why we would know when to start recording when we could hear the wax because the horn was amplifying it.
Just sounded like static.
Yeah. Is it one cylinder per take? Like, can you reuse a wax cylinder? So each one of the wax cylinders, you're able to record 2 minutes on. And so we did a few takes where the song was, say, like 1 minute and 20 seconds, and then I messed up right at the beginning, and then we could still record. But if you do record through the 2 minutes, you actually can use a wax cylinder again, but you have to take it off and put it in the separate machine that we had, and then you shave off the take and get it back to it being totally flat. It took about 15 minutes to do, and he said that you could do it about 5 times until you've shaved too much away. I guess it also depends on how loud the take you did was to how far you would need to shave it into.
All right, Sean, so we just shaved Rob's voice off of that, hey?
Who's Rob?
So if you messed up a take, you have to wait 15 minutes, and then you can use the same cylinder again. And then the next one is, people ask, do you have them? And yeah, I think I answered that earlier. I have all the wax takes. I think it's maybe 6 of them about, and one of them is just the end screen, which I love. I have just the end screen of a YouTube video in the wax cylinder, so I'll have to display that somewhere. And then the first acoustic take of Short Song I gave to Jeff. And I was thinking about sending the first metal take to Fluff just as a gag, like, hey, can you mix this and get this back to me? I don't know what I'm going to do with them. Probably just display them somewhere in the home studio. What's up with the Wibblespoon guy? That's a valid question. Where did you find this equipment and the engineer who knew how to use it? So this was Jake.
Yeah, I just Googled it.
Yeah. And thankfully, there's someone within,
Like a few hours away.
Yeah, a few hours away who happened to have it. I wonder if he wasn't around, who would be the next closest person who works with this equipment.
I didn't even look into it because Sean was already close.
I Googled it when I first had the idea, and I only found, I think, one museum where they did it. And it was in Philadelphia. Or New York. The last question I had is, who are the other musicians? And I think I will just link to their channels here. Jessica, Dave, Jeff, and then my friend Nicco was the bass player in Gas Mask Catalog, which was the band I played drums for in high school.
This was just a side hustle for him. He usually spends his days digging ditches, dirt, right?
You guys are weird.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he works at that construction company.